What up, motherfuckers? Today, as you can see, we are in my lovely extra room, or as you could say, closet in my room. But, you know, fuck it, we in here. Coronavirus, baby. We are going to be assembling the SR20 for the Silvia. Yes, I know, it's been a long time since I said anything about that motherfucking car. We're just going to pretty much be assembling the whole thing for this video. I might throw in a couple snippets of what I'm talking about with measurement and so on, with for example, measuring the bearing clearances and so on like that, the piston ring gaps, etc. I already recorded that prior, but I had to take it back apart because of a mishap I had with a shitty piston ring installer with, oops, you see right here, I hate this thing. We pretty much scored up the whole, well, we pretty much scored up one of the cylinders, cylinder number 2, when I was installing the pistons the last time. So, pretty much, I'm just going to run you through the whole process again, but it's going to be one full video. So, this might be long, oh well, I figured I'd give you guys a nice detailed information. So what we got, so what we got right here, that's an oil squirter, you know, it's a nice 12-point head, I believe 10 mil. We're going to install these in the block first. Squirt, 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 squirt. Before we would put the crank in, we've got to put these in here, you know what I'm saying? Don't mind the accent, I know I'm horrible. Deal with it. These Johnnies, I'm targeting 22 foot-pounds. I will show you the spec sheet. That's going to be the torque spec sheet for some of the specs. But as I said, this one says, I think it says 17 to 22. We're going to go to 22, just to be safe. If you see, right in here, you've got this little port right there, you know what I'm saying? You see it's got a hole in there? Yeah, mate. So we're going to stick this in right in there, you know? Pow, baby. We're just going to tighten this motherfucker down. You see what I'm saying? So we got the squirt, squirt for the cylinders, you know what I'm saying? Squirt, squirt. Ooh, yeah, yeah. We do it 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry for the light, it's on top of me. Pow, 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 pow. Don't forget your baffle plates, y'all. Bam. So, what I'm going to do next, which, since I've already had it assembled at one point, I'm just going to put everything back the way I had it the first time. I had to get it machined originally for the ARP main studs because the torque spec's a lot tighter, so everything was tighter throughout for the actual clearances. You got the bearings all sitting in there. There's actually an oil hole that you line up the bearing to. Also, when lining it up, there's also a little tab. Oops. We're going to line up inside the tab. So each one has one. You're going to slap them bad boys in there. Get them all pushed down. We're going to leave each one up and set the crank in. So now we're going to throw some lube on each one of these puppies. Now get in there nice with your fingers. Get in there nice. What we are going to do next is put in the crank. Groove side and a flat side, if you can see it. Groove side is going to face the crank. There is grooves that go in between the cylinders 2 and 3. And right here. Now, like I said, direct the grooves toward the arm. So what I'm going to do, so I'm literally going to slide this. I'm going to slide this puppy right in between. And there's a groove. And you're just going to slide it in so it sits nice and flush. And it's going to stop right there. These washers, and it's hard to see, there's one right there, and there's also one on this side. This keeps it from moving side to side. Just one on this side and one on this side, so make sure you do the same thing. Keep the grooves facing outward towards the crankshaft arm, not towards the bearing. After we got the crank in there, we have the thrust washers in there, oil squirters are all in there, we got our bearings all set up, putting the main caps on. But there is numbers on each one of the caps. Maybe I'll take a picture and insert it in here, maybe not, we'll see. But there's caps on each one. So this is number 1. Already got my bearing in there, I don't know if you can see it. Again, same thing with the other one. It has a groove. So you just line that groove up, slap some Earl on there. Not Earl, assembly lube, whatever you use, whatever brand. I am actually using the Permatex Slick Lube, Ultra Slick Lube, whatever. Gonna just set this Johnny right there. Now we got our ARP main studs. Line them up on your block. You know, it's a nice flat surface. These are all the same length. So these I'm going to go on the outer sides, well, towards the front. Then we have 3 shorter ones. The 3 shorter ones are going to go in these 3 spots. I'll put up the ARP picture so that way you guys know. And we're just gonna hand thread these in. Alright, they just say snuggie. So that's what we gonna do. Just get some on there, get them on the threads. Like I said, I'm gonna start with the ones that are shorter so I know that I have them in place. And we'll go from there. 3 slots. And if you have a question of which side to put them in, it's kind of obvious. There's an Allen head key on the top where you can use it to tighten it down by your hand or torque it to spec. I'll do this to each one, then I'll show you again so you can see a lined up shot of the levels of them, so that way you can see which ones are the shorter ones. So, washers, just gonna slide on there. You know what I'm saying? Slide up on there. Ooh, yeah. Just top 32. Oh, yeah. Got our nuts. Just thread them puppies on there. Here is the info for the main studs and what I'm doing. It shows you on the bottom, as you can see. You'll see the short stud locations. But, as you see, 3 equal steps to 80. And follow the torque sequence. Now that we have all of them torqued to spec, you can still see, we can rotate that bad boy easily. So we are good there. Now we can get to the pistons. I'm going to slap that right about there for the first one, so that way I can torque it down once I have everything in. So we're going to rotate the engine over and do the pistons. Alright guys, so for this section of this build, I'm going to be using my trusty cardboard area, and I'm going to be assembling the pistons and rods. Here are the rods. So as you can see there, and here are the pistons that we are using. Pal, look at me. Hot sex. Alright, so what we got here is wrist pin. It's going to slide in here like yay. I'm sorry. Wrist pin, piston. What we're going to do is we're going to be assembling this inside of here, and we're going to slide it in there while we're putting the connecting rod on the small end. So what I'm going to do first, we got these kind of like snap rings. I don't know if you can see that. So we got these bad boys, and they are going to go into this side right here. If you look on the end, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a groove. We're going to be sliding into that outside groove right on the outside. So there's a couple ways you can go about doing it. There's proper tools, but what I'm going to do is pretty much going to be using the pocket screwdriver method. So what I like to do to try to get both of these ends, because these are the ends that get that. So you see the ring, they have 2 big ends. So what I like to do, if you see right here, I don't know if you can, if it zooms in on or not, you see that little divot right there? Right here where my finger is, right above my finger. See that? So I like to use that as my way of pushing the actual clip-in. So I'm just trying to show you as detailed as I can to maybe help somebody else out. Now, I can't guarantee that you're not going to get like a little scratch right here on the side, but I mean, it's the only thing I can say. But this works the best for me. I'll try to get a good recording. So I start to tuck it in inside here on the ledge on the one open side. So I'm going to kind of push it a little bit, kind of set it in the hole, take my flathead, and I'm going to use that to pry that rest of the part in. Like I said, I'm going to try and get it on camera for you. It's kind of hard. I'll take it. Oh, there we go. Popped right in there. That's pretty much what I'm going to be doing for all four. I'm going to start that off in each one, so that way one end's already in there. So when we slide the wrist pin in the other side, that side is going to be stopped by that clip. And then that way we can just put the other one in, and then that is assembled. Got this bad boy all lubed up, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, oh yeah. So, boom. Gonna do that. We're gonna get some in her, some in here. Like I said, lube is your friend. We're gonna take this bad boy right here. I'm going to actually start this bad boy in here just a little bit. As you can see, it's nice and lubed up, so it starts to slide in. So I'm gonna take this. So we're gonna do, as you can see, I'm going to slide. I'm sliding that bad boy right on in there. So we got movement, like we already did. We did with it off. I'm gonna take this bad boy, do the same method I did to it the first time. Now that my fingers are all lubed up, hopefully it's not go flying across the damn room like it did. I actually think it hit my TV. That's nice. That's what can happen when you do when you put these in. Your damn retaining clip can just fling across the room. That is one piston assembled and connecting rod. And if you need to, just go back through and just verify that your rings are all set inside the grooves and nice and tight, so that way they don't pop out. You don't want that. Now I'm going to repeat this process with all four of these, well, the rest of the three. And then before I put the piston rings in and try and actually assemble it, I'm going to show you the method to getting a good reading of your piston ring gap. I mean, you can set it how you want. CP sends a set of paperwork, which I can show you. They have a sheet that you can kind of follow if you want. We're going to be measuring how thick this gap is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this in here. I'm going to take the piston, no rings or nothing. I'm going to set it in the other way so we can get a nice flat measurement for it. So I'm going to take it back out. I'm going to get my feeler gauge out. Doing this formula, but it'd be 86.5 mil divided by 25.4. We get 3.405 or 406 if you round up. Do that times 0.0055, which is what they say over here for a turbo application. I wrote that down. That's what they're recommending. And then they say we'll say 4 thousandths to 8 thousandths bigger than the top ring. So then I'm just going to run with 22 thousandths, since we had 18 thousandths plus 4 thousandths. Boom. So that's what I'm running. And then just after you get the first measurement, what they say the second ring should be 4 thousandths to 8 thousandths bigger. Same technique, so you can do it to every single ring for every cylinder. It's gonna be hard to kind of actually show you how to use this, but you get the idea. So this right here is a filer for the piston rings. Call it a piston ring grinder, filer, whatever you want to call it, don't matter. This ring right here specifically is a little too tight, and I don't want that. So I'm going to stick this bad boy in here. You're going to use these two pieces here, these little like posts, to kind of push it up against. What you're going to do is push it up against to this actual like carbide grinder, whatever you want to do. Once you get it there set, you use this. After all that measuring, we're going to install all the rings onto the first piston. That way all that's on. Put the piston ring compressor on. We're going to tap the piston down. We're going to match the actual orientation of all the rings according to this picture. So now that we have everything set up, what I'm going to be testing out now is the clearance for the actual rod bearing. So I already stuck the bearing in. It's completely dry. Same with the cap. Completely dry as well. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be installing the piston itself. I'm going to be actually going in and installing it. But what we're going to do is we're going to be measuring the clearance by putting some plastic gauge. I don't know if this is the right color or not. I have other colors, but regardless, we're going to be using plastic gauge, and we're going to actually be putting it in between the bearing on the top. Like I said, dry. We can't move anything, so we don't want to scratch anything up. And then from there, we pop back off, and we compare to our gauge, which is on the side, and you measure your actual clearance. Now from here, if everything's all compressed as it should be, got a hammer, use the wood end, and give it a good tap or two until it pops in. And for good measures, it's always good to make a nice sound effect. Bam! Money.
Well, you need some WD-40.
Suck a dick. As you can see here, we have the rod all the way up against the crank journal. I'm going to place the rod bearing cap on here, and we're going to stick a little bit of plastic gauge right here. We're going to tighten it down, like you torque it to spec. I'm going to take it back apart, pop the cap back off, being careful not to damage anything. And from there, we'll just measure the distance, the actual gauge, right here. I'm going to place this little dabber right here. That is our plastic gauge. All we have to do now is put this on top. Hopefully it does not move. And we can tighten it down. Completely dry. Like I said, you need it to be dry when you're checking this clearance. But again, you also don't want to move the crank at all or anything like that. And you're going to use this to measure your clearance. So you can see the ranges that we have there, and we're going to try and compare it. So let me tighten this down, and then we're going to check. So if you guys look here, it's hard to see, but you see a little strip? Put it right here. See, it's right about there. I'm going to repeat the process from here on each bearing spot. So all 4 spots are going to get checked just in case. And then, like I said, that same thing's going to happen. Take it back apart, clean off the bearings, lube it up. You know, get that good slick shit on there. Then tighten that bad boy down for good. So we got some lube up on that bearing. It's hard to see the actual flames. I don't know. There we go. So we got some lube up on that bearing. I even lubed up the crank some, and then we lubed up the top cap. So I'm going to slide this puppy back up on the crank. See it on there? 43 ARP Molly. Ooh, like butter, boy. Ooh, yeah. That feels good. And now, to repeat the process on each one of these bad boys. So, same thing that we just did. We'll take our piston and installer. And guys, here you go. So I'm going to end the video off here. I cannot seem to find my timing chain guide bolts for my timing chain. While I wait for that, I'm going to end this video off here. I'm actually going to start on the Miata build, so that will be coming up. I appreciate you guys watching. See you later, motherfucker. Ooh, that was a good one.